The lead generation secret, how virtual assistants can skyrocket your results. Hey guys, Adrienne Green here with Workergenix, and today I am going to spill the tea on all of the ways that I have used virtual assistants in lead generation across my businesses. I'm going to walk through several different lead generation strategies and how I've used a virtual assistant, or as we like to call them at Workergenix, virtual professionals, to do a lot of this heavy lifting so that I can get the results while I'm spending my time in my top 20%, which isn't necessarily planning a lead generation event, ordering the food for it, cold calling, or any of those things that go into it, where we can really get a virtual assistant to come in, do a lot of that work, that 80% as I like to say, so that we can achieve a lot more, right? To multiply or leverage our time that we're putting in. So let's get started at the beginning of kind of the lead generation process, and then I'm gonna walk through and I'm gonna give you guys, again, really specific things that I have done within Workergenix or within my real estate agent business where I have used virtual assistants and it's been phenomenal. So starting at the beginning, let's talk about lead research and data collection. One specific thing that I've done in this area within my real estate world is I wanted to build up a network of referral agents I could have in several big cities throughout the nation. And so one thing I did is I took my virtual assistant or virtual professional, I gave them a list of the cities where I wanted to find top quality agents to have in my referral network. And then the virtual assistant went and researched agents in those cities, filled out a spreadsheet and collected all of this data about great agents in those cities. So then I could reach out to those agents later. That's one example of how the VA helped me with that lead research and data collection that could probably apply to something in your business. So then let's move on and say, now I have this great list of leads. What am I going to do with it? Well, the next thing that I had the virtual assistant do was set up email drip campaign, right? I gave them the general vibe of what I wanted. They went in and fleshed it out and did a lot of the work of coming up with the content of a drip campaign email and also text for calling, scripts for calling and for texting these agents as well. So we set up an entire system where then we had the content and then the VA went in and they would send these emails, track if we got a response in the CRM, and if we didn't get a response, they would start calling and texting them using the scripts, again, tracking it all in that CRM. So they were doing a lot of that outreach there. I was just the brains behind it, fine-tuning the wording to make sure it'd be as appealing as possible, because obviously I knew what that agent would want and what they'd be looking for and what would be appealing to them to make them respond and join our referral network. Now, those were all, of course, our outbound leads, generating them ourselves. I've also had virtual assistants do a lot of similar work when we have inbound leads, right? Maybe you have a system where you are getting paid leads or something like that. Leads are coming into you. And what I've used virtual assistants to help with that is first processing that lead when they come in, getting them into our CRM and getting, speed to lead is important, getting back to them right away. So they would get them into our system. They would immediately, in my real estate world, connect them with an agent who would be doing their own outreach. And the virtual assistant would be doing that initial connecting email and text saying, hey, lead, meet this agent. Let's let you guys take it from there. And then the VA would be in charge of tracking this person in our CRM, interfacing with the agent and making sure that a connection was made. The agent would be reaching out and the VA would also be reaching out to make sure that we had connections. So that outreach looks like, again, with scripts, it looks like a mix of calling, email, and texting. We used all three methods because everybody's different, every lead's different, and they prefer different methods. So we use all three of those big methods to see which one that person would respond to. So they would track that lead, they would do this outreach and follow up with this lead, hopefully until we made a connection or we determined that this person was not actually interested and it was a dead lead. So those were the first steps in that lead generation. Now let's say we have somebody who's maybe signed up for our mailing list or said they want to start getting information from us, right? They're somewhere in that lead funnel and yet they're not ready to become a client yet. So some ways that I have used virtual assistants to help as we move leads down that funnel is with a weekly newsletter. So there's so many great opportunities or platforms like MailChimp or MailerLite or other things like that, where it's so easy to set up a weekly newsletter. So on my real estate team, I had a weekly newsletter where we sent out deals and information about the city and things like that. And I had it all proceduralized where a virtual assistant was the one putting it all together, and all I was doing was proofreading it at the end. So we had a search set up in the MLS that would pull promising deals. I had parameters where the virtual assistant would go through and choose the ones that were the best. We had a procedure where they would know what details of those houses to highlight in the newsletter to make them appealing to buyers. They would put the links, all of that together into a weekly newsletter. They'd also research the city, find appealing highlights like as businesses, events coming up, things like that to highlight in the newsletter as well. So they pretty much did 99%. All I was doing was proofreading the weekly newsletter and sending that out. That was a huge, huge appeal to people. We had a very high open rate on that, right? We had probably in the 60s. So it was successful, and it was something that brought us clients and brought us deals. Another part of the online marketing that I'd have virtual assistants help with is social media management. I have not frequently made posts myself for social media in the sense of a business, right? Outside of my personal pages. But for these business pages, that is what a VA is doing, right? We again have parameters that we've set up originally. This is the kind of post, this is the kind of wording, this is our ideal client, and this is the branding, this is what it looks like. We dial it in, and then the virtual assistant takes it and runs with it. So they are putting out all of those posts on all the various social media channels, tracking the responses and seeing how things are going. Now, as we know, a lot of social media is video focused now. And so something the virtual assistant is also doing is all the video editing, including the editing for this video here, right? That is not my highest and best use. That's not my top 20%. So we have fabulous video editor, virtual assistant who's helping in doing that and allowing us to really have a much bigger presence on social media and a much more higher quality presence than we would if I was doing it all myself. So again, we're using that leverage, bringing other people in to increase both the quality and the quantity of what we can do in terms of this online lead generation and marketing. Now, maybe you say, I'm not a tech person. I don't want to be on all the social media channels. We can also take it very old school in-person events, and I have had a virtual assistant help with that as well. So how you are asking, do I have a virtual assistant who doesn't even live in my city help with a in-person event here? So they help with everything in terms of coordinating the event. So I had our director of operations virtual assistant start with getting the sponsors, right? I would give them a list. Here are all the potential sponsors. These are people in our CRM under our service providers. So I would just give them a list of names. They'd look it up, draft an email and say, hey, we're having this event. Would you be interested in sponsoring? Here are the details. They would track the responses, following up if we didn't get a response. When we did get a response, if this person wanted a sponsor, they would get them all the sponsorship details and track the payment of that, everything in that sense. And then also we've got to promote the event, right? So virtual assistants are the ones who are designing those marketing materials, both the marketing materials that are going to go onto social media, the ads, banners, things like that, and also the print materials that we're going to take, hand out to people, share in events, post in the local coffee shops, all of that. Those flyers are all going to be designed by the virtual assistant in charge of graphic design. Another thing that they do is press releases. How many of you have ever made a press release for your event, right? Something that's a great thing to do, gets it into the local media, and that is something that a virtual assistant can do. Something where we created a procedure again, and then they were able to just plug and play, do it again and again and again for each event. Similarly, there's a lot of online promotion for an event, making a Facebook page, maybe making an Eventbrite for the event, right? Things like that, sharing it on social media. So virtual assistants were in charge of that, handling the registration for the event, creating a registration page, tracking the registration, and then sending reminder emails and texts prior to the event to everyone who has registered so that we can make sure as many people as possible come to the event. That's another thing they did. Oh, and ordering the food. As much as we could have that it doesn't require somebody physically being here, the virtual assistant was doing that, including calling the pizza place or wherever we were getting the food and getting that order ready to go so that we could just go pick it up. Then we would have this fabulous event. All these people would come. It'd be an amazing opportunity to reach out to our ideal client, to make new connections and to add value to them, right? And then after the event, We want to take advantage of all these people we've met. We want to take advantage of all the information that we've shared, and a virtual assistant helps there again. So we had a sign in where people, noted who arrived, scanned that in, and the virtual assistant can take that and track the attendance and make sure anybody who wasn't in our CRM already as a part of somebody who's interested in our services, making sure that any that are new leads would get added to that CRM and making sure that they are noted so that people will continue to follow up with them and we continue to add value to those new people in our world. So that's really off the top of my head how I have used virtual assistants in lead generation. Lots of different things there, from acquiring the leads, researching, finding those leads, reaching out to either cold leads or inbound leads, continuing to feed on people as they're in our funnel with things like online newsletters and social media and videos. And then when we have them in person, how we can use a virtual assistant to much more easily host an event and do follow-up afterward to continue to add value to these people. So if it sounds like a virtual assistant would help you 10x your business in terms of lead generation, all our information is below. Please reach out to schedule a discovery call. Thank you so much.